And we'll get started. Sorry about being a little tardy today, but as always, sometimes you have to restart your equipment here. So we had to do a little bit of a restart, but now it looks like everything is streaming. Okay, so if you can hear me, just let me know that part. And I will be on in just a moment. I'm going to make sure that I can see everybody over on the YouTube stream and on the bead shop stream. So thanks for bearing with me while the technical difficulties get worked out. It's always exciting each morning as I hit that go live button to make sure that everything is working. And great, I can see you. Perfect. So here I am in 3, 2, and 1. Yep. Okay. Well, good thing I have fast fingers on the computer keyboard right here. So let's put that aside and we are ready to go. It will be one worth waiting for. We're going to do a quick little project today for Free Tip Friday on kind of the eve of the summer equinox here, or the summer solstice, not the equinox, the summer solstice here, as it's June. And we're gonna create a pair of earrings that is gonna be perfect for summer. And we're gonna use that getaway mix, the June 2020 monthly mix here from beadshop.com, and we're going to create a fun pair of earrings with it that I think you guys are gonna like. So it looks like everybody is here and chatting away, which is great. Oh good, Melanie received her pendant, which is great. I love that, and I'm just looking to see everyone is saying hello. There's my mom, which is great to see my dear mama, and everyone is there. Drea is over on our Facebook feed. She is moderating for Gita. Gita has a prayer engagement this Friday, so from across the miles, Gita, we'll see you when you catch up with the live broadcast. All right, everyone. So I think this is going to be a fun one. You know, I'm seeing a little bit in the comments that people are like, oh, I'm kind of frustrated. I don't know quite what I'm making right now, or I have a little bit of creativity burnout. I think that this project with the monthly mix here is going to be kind of a fun way maybe to jumpstart your ideas. You don't have to have the monthly mix, of course. You can make your own seed bead mix, and we're going to look at that in a second. And then we're going to go ahead and put this together. So I'm going to show you. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So let's take a look. I'm going to come right over here. And Drea is here, as I mentioned earlier. Drea is here moderating for Gita. She also made a blog post of all of these ingredients over on our blog called The Bead Table. You can access it through the homepage of our website, beadshop.com. Or you can go ahead and I'm going to chat about them now, but you can go ahead and check out that blog anytime. And the blog is great. Drea tosses a whole bunch of stuff up on the blog. It's great. Ingredients lists, just fun things. So if you don't read our blog, I know that blogs are kind of, early 2000s kind of, oh wow, we've got a blog, but we utilize our blog a lot. And so it's great. It has a lot of good info. But I'm going to tell you what I've got going on here. Andrea just linked it right over in the Facebook feed for the blog. So the earring, you can see it's set up here, and I'm going to show you this in a second. But I used a tube. I still had some left over, but I used one tube of the Getaway mix for June 2020, and you can see I've got my little pieces strung already here, and I've strung using fine Ceylon, the turquoise in fine. And I've pulled a couple of different ear wires. This one's called Folio. It's one of our fancy ones like this. And I've also have just the sterling silver earring wire, regular hook ear wire. And then I've used, to bring all of the pieces together here, I've used our currants beads. And the currants are the recycled glass beads. And the hole on these guys are really super large. So they're plenty big to put a whole bunch of strands of the fine Ceylon through. Okay, so basically what I did to make this, Curtis is asking, any projects coming up on how to create design on our face masks using beads? Well, not yet, but you never know, Curtis, what might be coming. That's so funny. Our masks, since they're becoming such a way of life for us, especially here in California, I wear my mask every time I go outside. I think it's the right and responsible thing to do for our fellow human beings on this planet. But we want to, I want to be able to I wash mine all the time. So I don't know, maybe some beads. So Curtis, if you do think of something, send it in. I'd like to see it, right? So this is kind of a riff off of the looped tassel piece that we did, that Allie made a while back using dragon scales. This is basically the exact same thing, only I'm making it in earring format. And when I texted Drea yesterday, and I'm all, dude, I've got this great variety, this great piece that I'm going to do for Free Tip Friday, and I sent her the things, and I go, and I'm going to make a tassel, but it's going to be looped. And she's like, oh, like our looped tassel project? I was all, right, yes, exactly. So it must have been laying in my subconscious for a while from Allie. So thank you, Allie, for the inspiration for this. So essentially, it's super fast and super easy, right? And you can see I've got 4 loops right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Like so. I have the 4 strands here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to tell you how long, you can make these long or short or whatever. I used the monthly mix that has a variety of the seed beads. It goes from 6/0, 8/0 to 11/0. And I've strung about 5 inches worth of beads. Okay? 4 strands. And I used the collapsible eye beading needle to do that. I'm sorry, the flexible eye, the small wire beading needle, the flexible eye here. You could also just stiffen the end of your Ceylon with Zap glue. Okay, so that's what. So it makes it just easy to string. Okay, so then once you have strung all of these guys, and make as many strands as you want. If you want it to be a little, I don't know, fuller, do more. You want it to be a little less full, do less, whatever. You could do just a single, right? With a smaller bead, you could scale it down, scale it up, whatever. So, but essentially what I do is I get all 4 of these strands and I put them together. Let me get a little tighter in here so you can see that. And I kind of pull all my strands so they're even-ish. It looks like this side. I need to bring these down a little bit, maybe. They don't have to be super even, but fairly close. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to string. This is a good job for the big eye needle, would be a good one for this. But since I don't have a big eye needle sitting right here, though I am going to clip off. Where did I think my thread snips. There they are. I'm going to clip off this long strand because it's giving me grief. And I'm just going to kind of pull all of these strands through this big hold bead, the currant bead. Now our currants, the recycled glass beads, like I was saying earlier, they have a huge hole. And the hole size, I have, how many strands? If there are 4 loops, that means I have 8 strands of fine seal-on that need to go through this bead. Not only do the 8 have to go up, but they need to come back down through the hole. I could, as I am doing my little macrame thing here, I could get rid of some of the strands, but for ease of use and being quick for this project, I just kept everything together, all the strands, and they're fine. The hole is plenty large enough. And if your strands kind of cross and stuff a little bit, I think that's okay, though I don't want them to be too twisty. Okay, so I want them to kind of look kind of nice here at the bottom. Okay, so we see that? So now, what I do is, I'm going to get this a little tighter. And Dria's saying, in the words of the great Chandler Bing, could this be any easier? No, Dria, it could not be. It's pretty easy, right? So this, you can see, I've just brought them all up. I've come through, and I've inched up a little bit here. Let me get a little tighter so you can see it. I've inched up a little bit here because I just macrameed around. I cut a length of the fine seal-on. Macrameed, I'll tell you about how long that is. Macrameed about 1/2 inch. This is about here. And then I'm going to bring this around and down. Okay, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to macrame this all together. Okay, so the earrings themselves are pretty light. They look kind of bulky, but they're not heavy at all. Okay, so I'm going to attach this to my board, and I'm going to do that so it'll be easier for me to macrame. And can you also see what I've put on here? I put on one of the 8mm soldered jump rings right here, but you could use any kind of ring. You could use a regular open and closed jump ring, and you could use a like one of our Jardin rings, or our mini hoop, or even our medium hoop. Like if you were going to make this a tassel, if you don't want it to be an earring, it could be a center for an earring, or for a pendant, or whatever floats your boat. Okay, you can kind of play around with. So I'm going to push as I connect this to my board. Okay, I'm going to push this down. Okay, and I'm going to connect it to my board. Melanie is saying this is a great project for when she does Netflix and chill, right? It's totally mindless, right? All you have to do is string 4 strands, or 8 strands really, at 5 inches long, and that's stringing. Don't even look at what you're stringing, right? Just do it completely randomly. And I'm going to just connect this onto the board right here. And I've done a little bit of the macrame previously, so you wouldn't have to sit here and watch me like paint drying, right? So I've done, as we remember, I gathered all of my threads here together. I slid on whatever ring I'm going to use. Again, this is my 8mm soldered jump ring, right? And then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do my regular macrame flat knot. Now, many of you are familiar with this macrame flat knot. It's 2 half hitches that come together to form the full stitch. We have a great skill builder on it that Brittany did for us. So if you're not familiar, or if you're new to watching us on Bead Shop, you can go right to our skill builders and learn that macrame flat knot. But essentially, I'll do one more. It's a loop. Right, and I'm starting on this right side. You make that loop with the right hand side. With the left, I come over the tail of that right hand thread, and I go under the center threads and up through that self same loop. Okay, and now I'm going to do it on the opposite end. I'm going to make a left hand loop underneath, over the left hand thread, underneath the center, up through the loop, and tighten. Okay, so there it is. Alrighty. So let's, oh, I like that Sherry watches Korean dramas. I think that's awesome. When I go to Korean spa, Sherry, that's all they have on. And I am as enthralled as if I spoke Korean. I love them too. That's awesome. Okay, so now that we've done this macrame portion, we're going to bring this together. And we're going to create that loop. You might be asking, well, Kate, which threads did you use to macrame? So let me actually show you that just real quick before I get to it. So I will just cut off a length, I don't know, whatever this is, lengthwise. Where's the end? Come on. I know you're here somewhere. I just took a length of thread off of you. I promise. Really? Don't you know, thread, that so many people are watching? Come on. Isn't that funny? I'm going to just make a little clip here since I can't get it off. It's never happened to me before. Oh, I see it. It's right there. Okay. There we go. I'm going to cut off a length of thread that's maybe, I don't know, maybe about a yard. That's kind of long, maybe a little less. But, oh, Sherry's saying subtitles, of course. Well, at the Korean spa, they don't put the subtitles on for you. So you just have to infer, but it's still riveting. So I'll come up and just start my macrame about, when you push this down, maybe that's 1/4 of an inch or so, right? So I'm going to come in and I'll just start the macrame, right? It's a little crazy, so let me go ahead and tame it down with some clips. There we go. And, oh, when we say, Donna, when we say mind your P's and Q's, we do a P side on the macrame and a Q side on the macrame. So we call that minding our P's and Q's. It has nothing to do with your question. We love your questions. So sometimes it can be taken out of context though, huh? So yes, that's what we call the Q side and the P side. So that's our old bead shop macrame joke there. So I put that in, and so now you can see I'll come in and I'll just start my macrame. So here's the P side. See that? Oh, and this, where I clipped the thread, is a little funny, so let me clip this away. And there we go. So see, there's my P side. And I just start with the macrame. I don't really knot it around any other way. So that goes, and then you just kind of, now once you've done that first knot, right, you can kind of adjust it a little bit. Okay. And Janice is saying that if I knot all my threads together, I could drop the threads if I knotted them all right here. And I could, but I don't really need to go back through this current bead. And I'm going to knot them again under here anyway. So I think the 2 knots would make this a little bit bulky. And I like the heaviness of, or the width that all of these strands give my macrame under here, right? It looks like a nice hefty kind of a bail for this to hang on. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So just bear with me here. So you kind of push everything down to make sure that your loops are all tight right here, right? Then you kind of push your macrame down, and then you continue going. Okay, so once you've done it here, all right, and one of the things I do with my Ceylon is I have a little mini hair straightener, and I didn't do it on this one, but you can heat up your hair straightener and iron those strands of the fine Ceylon, and they'll be nice and silky, really easy to use. You could also, as Cindy is saying, you could wax this thread also if you wanted to as well. Okay, so I am going to just put all of that kind of to the side and come up here, take this off, and I'm going to create my loop. Make sure that you get whatever you're putting inside the loop in the loop, okay? And what I'm going to do is I need to kind of lash this down to the board. So let me get your friend and mine, the kitchen twine, right? Or a scrap of leather or whatever it is you have, okay? And I'm going to string it through this loop. Connecting your project to the board is an art unto itself, I think, right? Yeah, Sherry, I found this little one just at my local drugstore. It was in like with the travel section stuff, right? Who knew that I needed a travel flattening iron, straightening iron for my threads? It was a tip that I learned at our bead retreat from one of our customers, Alice Howe, who came to the retreat. She shared that with me. So see how I'm lashing this down, right? I did it here at the top and crimped it down, and then here tightened it down here as well. And I don't want it to be too tight because, and I can adjust it afterwards, I don't want to pull it out of that loop. Okay, so I just want it tight enough that I can work with everything. So I'm going to tighten it down there. Okay, so now I'm going to continue with my strands up from the bottom, from below. These are the strands that I was doing my knotting with. Okay, so I'm going to come in, and now it's time to do our P's and Q's. See, this one's on the bottom, so I'm just going to come in. The first one is going to feel a little funny because you're doing all of these. Now, one of the things that might actually help before I do anything else is I may just want to put these, all of these, and I'm going to clip all of these together. And I'm going to just put this actually through the bead right now, because that will also, it'll be easier for me to get all of these through the bead at this juncture than trying to send them back through after I macrame. So I just need to kind of coax them through. You're the boss of this thread, right? We all know that. You're in charge. Our clamps and everything else that you see here that I'm using, we sell on our website at beadshop.com. The clamps, as some of you know, are an Emily favorite. Emily introduced us to those, and we just love them. We love them, love them. So now if a couple of these are being a little persnickety, we don't want that to happen, so we're going to just tame them. We want to make sure also, you guys, as our thread is coming through the bead, I don't know if you can see it, I'm going to get a little closer so you can kind of see here. You want to make sure that all of your threads are not too twisted. Okay, so let me get in a little tighter here so you can see that. Okay, so here Melanie's also saying this would look great with wax linen. It sure would, actually. The wax linen would give this piece definitely a little bit of a different drape. I think it would look really nice. So I'm pulling the threads down to kind of give myself a little more room in this bead hole, but again, if it doesn't want to do that, let's use our needle for these final two, okay? If I had zap glued the ends of this fine seal-on, they'd probably go through pretty well. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to go through here. And I can feel there's still plenty of room in there. It just didn't want to, they just didn't want to poke through. There we go. Alrighty. Now it makes it a little bit easier for me to get everything together. And again, we want everything to be pretty tight in the tassel so that you don't have a lot of, you know, don't have any spare room in there. So there we go. That looks good. And I'm going to clamp this down. Yeah, can you imagine trying to shove? I could have done, though, had I macrameed all the way down and gotten kind of close and still had all these strands out. I could have kind of gotten each of these strands in its own needle and, you know, put them through one by one, but I think this is a much better way of going about it. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that macrame closure. Okay, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to start with the P side and tighten. And again, you kind of have to line these up to make sure that everything is sitting correctly. So these first two might be a little funny, so tighten that one, then tighten that one. There we go. And we're off to the races. Okay. And this, as I say, this opening I left maybe about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit less. I'm making this a little bit longer than I might normally, just so that you guys can kind of see it. Okay. There we go. And remember, if you put your macrame down and you come back to it later, and you're like, wait a minute, which side am I supposed to be macrameing on? Which strand do I grab first? Well, I'll show you. See here on the side, and a lot of you know this already too, but where's my awl? Do I have my awl? I'll use my tweezers instead to point. You can see on this macrame, I've got a little scallop there and a knot, a little scallop on this side. The scallops side, right, is the side that you start the loop on. So I pick up and I make a loop to match the loop of the scallop, okay? And then I come underneath. It's a little hard for me to see. There we go. And then I know which thread I macrame with. I'm gonna go one more here, one more set, I think. And you want to make sure thread is inexpensive, so cut yourself a nice long piece of thread here. That yard actually doesn't seem too outlandish, right? So that I've got enough to hang on to, okay? Because you don't want to be macrameing with tiny little bits of thread, okay? So now what I'm going to do is, I think I can also get, I could just glue and end it all right here, right, in these. Glue them, let them sit, thread burn them off, right? But I think there's enough room in this currants bead. Currants, I don't know. I don't know if I want to call them a singular or a plural. But I'll come back in and I think I'll be able, let me just see, because the holes are so big. I think I'll be able to just get my thread through. There, I got one through. Let's see if I can get the other one through. Okay. And let's do this one. And kind of scrape the needle along the top of the bead hole so you don't split your threads, as well as, see, with my thumb I'm kind of pushing down the bead to kind of open up a little channel in there. So there we go. So those are through, right? Super easy. You don't have to, I don't know, you don't have to mess with gluing and thread burning and stuff this out. My mom is eyeing these for her church boutique, bazaar boutique, for the holidays already. Good one, Ma. I think it's a great idea. Now you can see again, I made this a little bit long, but I don't mind it actually. And you could even add a little bit of embellishment if you added little 11-aught beads along the side like we do with our Bollywood bracelets from Brittany. Let me grab this so you can see in the Bollywood necklace, right? You can see that she's done the macrame with the beads on the side. You could do that same thing here if you wanted to decorate it any fuller, any more, right? So now I'm just going to tie my knot underneath here. So I'm going to split my strands, and I'm going to take, now I should have 10 strands, 2, 4, 5, and 5 in this hand, right? 2, 4, 5, I do. And I'm going to bring them, the strands here, 5 on one side and 5 on the other, okay? And I'm going to come in, and again, I'm just going to take a moment to make sure that I'm in the middle, which I'm not. There we go. In the center of all of my loops. Let me actually shake this out for a second. Okay, here are my loops. That's why you don't want to twist them too much. There we go. So I've got a clear path through, and I'm going to take 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Put them underneath. There. All right. We see that? So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to tie my threads around. I'm going to choose one side. See how they're going to kind of come around here? So I'm going to do an overhand knot, or a square knot rather, not an overhand. Right over left and tighten down. Okay, tighten that nice and tight. And I'm going to get some glue before I make my next knot. And I'm going to put a little dab of hypo cement. Let me get a little tighter so you guys can see it. This is also, Janice is observing, it's a great way to end a necklace. That's exactly right, Janice. As you know, this is how we finish off a lot of our multiple strand necklaces, right? If we want to finish with a macrame loop. So this would just be your strands of necklace that all come through a big old bead around, you know, macrame. This would be a clasp or whatever it is, right? Or a chain or a ring, whatever. It's also easy. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to finish off by that last knot. I get all my strands and I'm going to tie them underneath here. There we go. So see how I'm exposing like the interior of that tassel, and we'll finish off our square knot with left over right, and I'm treating all of these strands as if they were one. Now before I even tighten it up, I get my glue back, I put a little dot of that GS, there we go, right in the center, so that when I tighten the knot it's tightening on the glue itself. Really tighten that sucker down. And a final gluing on the inside. Okay. Now, in real jewelry making time, in order for this glue to sit and really cure nicely so your tassel doesn't come apart, we would wait until the hands of time sweep the clock 24 hours, or at least like till this evening, at least 12 hours. And I would just come in. I want to make sure before I do anything else, it's a nice tight knot. Nothing's going anywhere. You can see that the hypo cement does kind of discolor. It'll dry much lighter because it's still wet, but it does darken your threads a little bit, okay? And this is our favorite, our GS Hypo. This is what we do all of our ending knots with, and we love it. I love it. I use it to glue a lot of different things, including rhinestones into an old pin if you need to replace a rhinestone. But it's what we've been using forever with these, with the threads. So I'm going to cut them just a little bit shorter. I'm not going to cut them right up to the knot because I don't want this knot to come apart. But you can see if they were all cut away, how pretty our piece looks. So let me get a little wider here. And we're just going to connect this sucker down, okay? So you can simply use an ear wire like this and connect it. You'd open the loop on the ear wire, right, and put it in. We also have, like I said, these folio ear wires. They were kind of fun. We had them for a few projects, but we haven't used them in a while, and I just thought I'd bring them out. Let's see. Whoops. Sorry about that. I just dropped my pliers, but it's a good thing I've got another set of pliers right here. Always have two sets of pliers, right? Let me open this up. Let me see what's going to fit in the hole here. This is a little small. The hole in the ear wire is a little bit small. So I would need to use, probably I'd use our 4mm oval jump ring that I actually don't have sitting here in front of me on the desk. So you're going to have to just believe me, and I'm going to go ahead and you can see. And the reason I need a jump ring here, let me show you, is see how both the soldered jump ring and the ear wire are both in the same, pointing the same direction. So we need a jump ring to connect them. But that 4mm jump ring should do the job just fine, especially in the oval. Would look nice. But so I can hold it up, I'm going to use this guy, our sterling silver ear wire. If you just open up the bottom, that loop opens. So if this is a soldered ring, you can still connect it. Okay, and I think it also looks very nice. So it just depends on what floats your boat, right? If you want it to be a little fancier up at the top, a little plainer, whatever. No, again, you can make this connection as short as you might want it. I made it a little bit long so it'd be easier for you guys to see it on camera. And I think I would actually flip this around because this is the pretty side, though they both look okay. Okay, so here are our pieces. We'll finish this other one up and I'll send the photo to Drea so she'll have it over on the blog as well. But super easy, and you can make this in any, as Pam's saying, you can make these loops any length, some short, some long, right? You can use all smaller beads. As I said, this is 6, 8, and 11. If you use just 8s and 11s, the loops would be less bulky, right? For all of these, the 6/0s are kind of relatively big, so it bulks out a little bit here. So it just depends on what you like to do. But I think this is a great jumping off point. I hope this gives you a little bit of a creative push to get out there this weekend. It is the first weekend of summer this weekend, so it's time for, as you know, I like a good pair of Say Something earrings. So these definitely say summer, using the Getaway mix from Janice's mix for June 2020. So that's it, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. I sure did. On Wednesday, coming up next week, we'll be into, I have a fun project coming up that you guys, I think, are really gonna enjoy. It'll be something else to kind of stir that creativity around for you. And we've got a lot of fun things coming up in July. We've got our July monthly mix that was curated by Brittany, and we have some fun projects that are gonna go along with that. I'm gonna dedicate Wednesday broadcast to it. And that's our story. We are sticking to it. So you guys hang in there, right? We want to, even though we're opening up and being able to go places, we want to remember to mask up, keep washing our hands, and keep safe, everyone. Have a creative, let me get myself a little more in the center here. Have a creative and wonderful weekend. And as always, you can find all of the projects and products from this broadcast right over on our website at beadshop.com. Okay, and you can sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get all of our fun coupons and our announcements and great things like that. I also wanted to say a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and especially mine on Sunday. Happy Father's Day, Pop. And for all of us who are learning and celebrating Juneteenth here in the States, it's a very important holiday that some of us are actually just learning about. So happy Juneteenth, happy summer solstice, and happy Father's Day. Big weekend going on. All right, everybody, stay safe, and I'll see you on Wednesday for our Facebook Live broadcast. 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. See you then, everybody. Thanks so much.